Do I think they're trying to tell me something? No. I'm just enjoying them for what they are. I'm more fascinated by the connection that I have discovered in me between myself and my ancient ancestral Paleolithic type self and all that goes with that. When you can learn, even in this modern day and age that we live in, you can connect with your blueprint, your soul blueprint, if you like, I'll call it. It's still there, and a lot of us can get in touch with that, I feel. It's all very esoteric and ethereal, and I actually struggle to put it into words and to make it concrete, because it's more of just a feeling that runs through me. So it's quite difficult to put it all into words. But I get the same when I look up at the stars as well. I feel connected to something bigger. And, you know, the cosmos, the universe, whatever you want to call it. We are made of stardust, says the ageing hippie.
Romans and Greeks, I think, would fairly regularly go to speak to people who could read, particularly like the intestines of birds, and they would read that particularly, like, for example, if there was going to be a war, or if they were going to choose what day they might want to travel on their boats to somewhere or whatever. So there were sort of like specific professionals who would read those. And, you know, there isn't that much evidence for people reading the starlings as an oracle here. And there is a lot of evidence of people having lived here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And, you know, I was talking to the bird guy at the RSPB desk there, and he was almost moved to tears. He was saying to me, just imagine what it would have been like then. You know, just imagine the amount of birds that they would have had. Like, it just would have, we were just like sort of looking up and imagining it in the sky, like it just would have been like thousands and thousands and thousands, and the sound of that many moving around, you know. So I would say that the rest, it's that, you know, that's not written down, any of that stuff. It's more of a sense, like, there's no way that won't have been a meaningful experience for humans, and how they encoded that and the meaning of that is theirs and only theirs to know, you know. Yeah. So I use this, and depending on where the murmuration moves through this, it has different sort of like symbolic areas. Yeah. I think one of the beautiful things is that this is like a 2D shape, right? But obviously the starlings go in 3D, 4D, 3D, 5D, whatever. It feels quite, and so they, you know, when that happens, that's really a point to note. The other thing that I really try to pay attention to is the body of the person that I'm with, because I really feel like the person who's getting the reading, their somatic experience also tells us a lot, and is a really important part of the whole thing. So that adds weight to things that are happening in the frame. And and then sometimes really unusual things happen, like it came like at a funny angle, so it basically like flew just right across in front of our faces, like really fast. And you know, because of the question and what she was working with, whatever was happening for her, she was so, like, both of us were like, and then she burst into tears because it was this huge like sort of meaning for her. It's almost like what I'm trying to do is to create a really solid invitation for people to come in from any kind of background and really have a deep experience, you know, like as deeper experience as they want and they can have.
we did this exhibition at the Phoenix Art Gallery, which was called Undercurrents, where we're trying to reveal, because a lot of people go to watch the starlings, but quite a few people don't understand the relationship between the starlings and the peregrines. And that, you know, murmuration is not a single species; it's a co-evolved behaviour between, you know, at least two species, starling and peregrine, or it might be another raptor.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, it's very, for me, it makes sense to talk about a three-species co-evolved behaviour, because the starlings have always been attracted to places where there are humans.
Yeah.
And we are part of, you know, and in Brighton, with thousands of us watching them, we're part of the story, you know, but they live in our houses, you know, we are co-evolved.
Yeah.
I've also realised how fundamentally different they are to humans, but, you know, more and more affection. The more I discover, the more questions I have, and that's, you know, with anything that's interesting, that's how it should be. But I think, like, one of the most attractive and appealing aspects to it, apart from just the beauty of what they do, is that there's no king.
Yeah.
You know, there's no leader, there's no fascist organisation, there's no, you know, somehow they work together in a very natural and instinctive and effective, very highly synchronised way. That I think that, why couldn't we manage that?
Other philosophies, other religions, other whatever, see birds, and they've used them in the Middle East and in early Islam as an allegorical thing. And there's a thing called the Conference of Birds, which is all about birds going on a journey together, not just a single species, a group of different species, and they're all led by the hoopoe. He's the leader bird, and he has to take all these birds on this journey, and they're going looking for the one, the supreme whatever, and it's all about how this journey is, and they ultimately have to accept that this one lives in them and not out there. If you imagine yourself back in prehistory, you can just feel the awe and the wonder that those people must have felt when they see things like we've seen today, and you know what they felt about these cranes migrating over the top of Everest, flying that high. Just nature in general, and the sights are just amazing things to behold, you know. So that is what most modern people have lost.
But I feel like this area, and particularly that kind of the kind of experience that we are currently having here, it's like I can feel it through time, connected back to so many other humans and so many other stages of history also having these incredible experiences, and and encoding it and watching it together, and having that awe-struck experience together, which I think is just, one of my mentors always says, these experiences of like awe and ecstasy and stuff, they're very, very necessary for humans. When I did the dance piece about it, I set up a bunch of rules for the dancers and they improvised with it, and they sort of got into this, it was almost like a trance state. While they were doing that, when they got really good at it, it started to look like one of those old Windows screensavers.
Yes.
Like it would just bounce around the sort of weirdly got quite almost boring. Like if you just look at it like a visual spectacle, it can almost get boring in a way. So, but if you remember that it's living beings inside there, so really think about it relationally, then can be so profound. So I would say think about it relationally, and I would say that in my experience, it can be as deep as you want it to be. So if you're really looking for something in your life right now, it can touch that. It can help you if you want it.
That sound, that was the flight call.
Yeah, I heard it.
So the chit-chit is the arrival, that trill noise. It's very similar to when they fledge, like they're begging for food sound, but it's just like their voice is matured and it's lower pitched and a bit softer. But that's like, we are flying.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if they're coming across the North Sea on a migration flight and they get a fog bank or something, how do they remain together as a flock? And sound is the only way they could. So, and it needs to be quiet to create that cohesion. Yeah. Because if it was a loud noise, it wouldn't force them to be together.
Yeah. Not like that.
I feel a very deep connection with the non-human world. For a lot of people, their experiences, they're looking at a mobile phone, 84 square centimetres of the universe there.
Yeah.
When you're outside, it's like putting a wide-angle lens on your camera. Your attention is out.
Yeah.
It's not on yourself, it's out. And I like that. I think it's healthy. So I'm very aware that it's not that the natural world is part of my life. My life is part of the natural world. So we did a petition to ban pesticides from the City Downland estate. And we, I thought it'd be great if we get a couple of thousand signatures. And then one weekend, I was looking at my phone and it had suddenly gone up to like 5,000, then it was 30,000. We got 120,000 signatures. It was the biggest petition the City Council has ever had in history, by a country mile as well, by a long way. But it was interesting that after doing that and with the nest box and stuff, the numbers did start to go up. Yeah. But there are other factors. I'd love to take all the credit, but there is the weather. But just so Bug Life are an interesting charity. Just looking at insect declines, what has happened over just the last 6 years. We are in an extinction event. We are in serious trouble. People don't realise how much trouble we're in, and then suddenly we're not going to have any food.
Yeah.
No, it's just trying to get people to. But the starlings are a brilliant visual indicator of what's going on.
Yeah.
If we've got a lot of starlings, we know there's a lot of insects.
We live in a world of nations with defined boundaries, where borders are in danger of being closed down in the face of terrorist threats and mass migrations of refugees. But in our nomadic past, before the modern nation state, human beings moved in harmony with nature and were free to follow the sun south in the winter, often migrating vast distances to keep warm, just like the birds, who can still take to the skies and avoid the entrapment of humankind's self-imposed limitations. The birds all know when the cold winds blow that they should not wait to fly away to head for warmer climes. And the murmuring starts as the rumour spreads, and it swoops and swells as the message moves, from bird to bird and eye to eye, as one they shape and fill the sky. Time to go, time to go, time to go again, now that autumn's chill is here. So spread your feathered wings and fly, come fly with us, come fly away, for we know a place where birds can go, where warm sands beckon and sunshine glows. Come away, come away, come away, we say, over the seas and far away. Over the wings of a dove, I say, far away, far away, far away will I roam, and there in the wilderness build me a home, a nest, where I can settle and stay, forever at rest, where the birds have flown.